Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range with some RPKs. If you are an AK lover, there's no way in the world you're not excited by this rifle. The rifle that I have here right now is a pre-ban rifle. This rifle was imported before the 1994 assault weapons ban by Bill Clinton, and it was imported by Mitchell Arms. And this is a Yugoslavian, what would be known as the M72 RPK. It has some really unique features about it that separates it from other RPKs fielded by other nations that used such weapons. And the concept is really cool. So during the Second World War, the US military adopted the BAR, which fired the 30-06, which was the exact same cartridge that the M1 Garand used during the war, and that carried over through Korea. But the Soviets, right after the Second World War, around 1948, had developed the RPD belt-fed machine gun that used the M43 cartridge, which is what we call the 7.62 by 39. They adopted the RPD, but then by the 1960s, the RPD was being phased out by first-line units and was being replaced in military service in the Warsaw Pact nations by AK-based rifles like this, the RPK, and the PK machine gun as well, but that chambered the 54R. So the Soviets went to this model. The US military during the late 70s and early 80s was looking at light infantry weapons as well. And in the 80s, they adopted the M249 SAW. The SAW used 5.56, but also could take the M16 magazine, not very well with the guns that I was exposed to anyway. They didn't work very well with the M16 magazine, but it used the same caliber, was belt fed, but had the option of using standard Stanag NATO magazines. The cool thing about the RPK was that the idea was that it would use the exact same cartridge, the M43 ball cartridge, and it would use the same magazines, and then the entire infantry unit could bear the burden of carrying machine gun ammo, and it'd be a light machine gun for those infantry units. And it worked really well. They have 30-round magazines, 40-round magazines, and 75-round drums that would be commonly available for those troops that use these types of weapons. But what I want to talk about is how the Yugo M72 was different than other Soviet RPKs or RPKs manufactured by other Warsaw Pact nations. I'm not saying Yugoslavia was a Warsaw Pact nation. I know it wasn't. Yugoslavia during the Cold War tried to be kind of independent of the Soviets and didn't have anything to do really with NATO. They just wanted to be neutral during the Cold War. And with the Tito-Stalin split early on after World War II, that pretty much stayed the case. But despite the fact that they weren't a Soviet Warsaw Pact nation, they still went on to use the AK and the RPK and other Soviet-based weapons in Yugoslavia until the Cold War ended. Yugoslavia ceased to be a nation, and now we know it as Serbia. And the Zastava factory that manufactured this rifle, and it says made in Yugoslavia on the side, Zastava USA, was recently established to bring in their AK-type rifles. But again, this is a very early example of an import that was made into the United States, and we'll get into the differences between the Yugo M72 RPK versus pretty girl sitting over there on the ground waiting for me to shoot her, which is a Romanian RPK. All right, let's do a little bit of shooting here. You'll notice that this pistol grip's slightly different, and this grip, I believe, was intended for the US market. It almost feels like a target grip. It's thick. It actually feels pretty good on my large hands, but I could put the black polymer grip on there if I wanted to, but I want to keep this original because it is a collector's piece. All right, we're shooting some Fiocchi ammunition. So the M72 had a non-chrome lined barrel. The M70, which was the AK, and the M72, they didn't use chrome lined barrels. And also, the round that the Yugoslavian military used was a brass case with a lead core bullet and corrosive ammunition. That ammunition used to be widely available here in the United States and was really affordable, but it's since dried up. So we're using some Fiocchi out of this old girl right now, which is a brass case cartridge and also a lead core bullet. The action on this thing is beautiful. The machining, the quality of this thing is just through the roof. It's absolutely a pure pleasure to shoot. I'm walking off that little lipstick target. All right, click, no bang. That's fun. All right, let's take a closer look at the M72 and how it differs from other RPKs from that era. So the M72 is sitting next to a Romanian RPK. These are still being imported into the United States. As far as I know, we have Zastava USA all set up now, and they're starting to bring in their rifles. But I don't know if they're bringing in the RPK or if they even plan to. It'd be cool if they add that to the product line, because again, the Zastava plant is still up and running, the same company that made this when it was Yugoslavia. So let's talk about some of the differences between what you commonly think are attributes of a standard RPK and how the M72 differs from that. So the first thing you're going to notice, if you take a look at the two guns, the fitment and the craftsmanship of the M72 is just superior. It's actually, I have Russian RPKs and things like that, but this thing is just absolutely beautifully built. And the wood on it's beautiful. It's just a really, really nice gun. The sights are true on it. There's nothing canted. You look down the receiver in the barrel, you don't see any bends or anything wonky. It's just a really nice made gun. And aside from that, the Yugoslavian military decided to do things a little bit differently. So let's start up at the front of the gun and talk about some of the differences. If you take a look at the front on this rifle, you'll notice that it has bipod legs that swivel. Just like a standard RPK, these can be folded and tucked away, and you have a little clasp on the bottom here that will hold the legs together. Where the gun differs, I want to make sure the weapon's empty here, put it on safe. Where the gun differs from, let's say, the Romanian gun, is that this bipod can be quickly removed. To do that, I need to unscrew the muzzle nut. It's a 14x1 left-hand thread. Because if you look on the bottom side here, there's a cleaning rod, but there's this little captive piece of sheet metal that keeps the cleaning rod from walking off the gun under sustained fire. So you can unscrew the muzzle nut, try not to lose it, take off this little retaining plate, set that aside. Now I can take out my cleaning rod. And with that, there's a serration back here for your thumb. I push forward on that, and the bipod legs just drop right off the gun. To put the bipod legs back on, just push forward, line it up, release it. Come on, pop back. There you go. It pops back. Put your cleaning rod on. Pop it over the edge there. Take your retaining bracket, stick that on there, and screw your muzzle nut back on. So that's really, really cool how they did that, because, you know, sometimes you might not want a bipod on there and don't want to carry the extra weight of it. Other than that, on the front, everything is pretty much standard fare with the muzzle nut, 14x1 left-hand thread, standard AK sight, which is adjustable for both windage and elevation. But if you take a look at the barrel profile as we come back, you'll notice that the barrel profile is heavier on the M72 than on the Romanian RPK. You have lightning cuts made here on the barrel. This thing is extremely heavy. As it comes all the way back to the gas block, you have these fins on the barrel, which are very distinctive of the M72. You come back to the handguards, the sights, very nicely done, machined and color filled, if you will. They were finished and then machined. So this is in the white, but you can clearly see the numbers on the top. But you have graduation from combat setting to 100 meters all the way out to 1,000 meters, which is pretty standard. You also have the adjustable rear sight, which is adjustable for windage. So you can zero it with the front and the rear sights. And that's pretty much standard RPK fare. Now, if you take a look at the carrying handle, you'll notice that the M72 does not have a carrying handle. That's pretty interesting in and of itself. Moving back, we have the heavy receiver with the reinforcements, the RPK style reinforcements, standard safety mechanism here, obviously. And we come back, the pistol grip's slightly different, and the next big difference is in the stock. The Romanian gun has a standard RPK style clubfoot stock, which is basically a great way to put, or a great place to put your offhand while you're shooting. The M72 has a standard stock that you would find like on the M70 rifle. Of course, you have that big pistol grip on there as well. Now, another thing that sets the Yugos apart is the fact that you have a button right here by my thumb that you have to use to take the top cover off. Push the button, push that in, and see how it holds it in the rear position. So when I go to put it back together, I put the top cover on, and then I just hit the button, and it pops out. That actually makes it easier to disassemble in the field. And inside, you're going to find everything is just standard RPK style innards. Again, nicely made gun. Very, very well made. So those are the major differences between a standard RPK and the M72. The trigger, everything else feels pretty much the same. All right, let's do some shooting. I've got a shooting mat down here. It's a little bit cold today. And we'll do some shooting with the M72 first, and we'll bring the Romanian over with its 72 round drum, or 70 round drum, 75 round drum. I'll get it right. 70 something. All right, gun's empty. Yeah, what a cool, cool piece of Yugoslavian Cold War history. What a beautiful gun, man. I love this thing. One other thing I want to point out about the Yugo before I put it away is that it does not have the facilities for an optic rail on the left-hand side of the receiver. Okay, now we're going to shoot what we affectionately call the dirty girl. This is a good old-fashioned Romanian RPK with a 75 round drum. Now this is a commercial drum I recently picked up. It's a Red Army standard drum from the guys over at Century Arms. Let's go ahead and charge the weapon up. I don't even know if this old dirty girl's zeroed or not. We're gonna find out. We got her smoking. Yeah, it's a little high. Just had to aim low. What a fun gun. These are great for just burning the barrel out of them because the ammunition's still affordable, and RPKs are just an insane amount of fun. Oh yeah. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Coming out to the range, doing a little bit of shooting with the RPKs and taking a look at the Yugoslavian M72 RPK. Again, this is a pre-band rifle, absolutely beautiful. Hopefully Zastava USA starts bringing these back into the country. Right now you can get them as parts kits, and you can have, you know, Smiths like Definitive Arms, put them together into really nice rifles. That, or you can go pick up, you know, one of the Romanian guns, which I believe are still being imported, although they don't have that original really rough laminate wood on them anymore. Century Arms is putting a more blonde furniture on them, but still a lot of fun to shoot. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, a great way to do that is become a Patreon supporter. There is a link down below in the video description. Also, if you would like, right here on YouTube, there's a join button underneath the video player. Give that button a click, check it out, and see what some of the perks are, and consider supporting the channel that way. And last but not least, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. All right, guys, thanks for 12 years of support. We'll talk to you soon.